Hello, you lovely bunch. No respawns here. Hope you are doing well. So this is a video that has been requested by quite a few people, which is showing off all of the building techniques, so the tips and tricks that I have done over various videos in the past, all collected into one space. I thought this would also be a really good time to show you some quality of life blueprints as well, so I can kind of mush this together as a kind of tips and tricks and helpful blueprints video effectively. So first let me show you where I am, because I always forget to show people and they always ask. So I'm just south of Yellow Sandy still, and just north of c.a.m.p. Now, notably, I'm near a cool place, which I'm going to build later down the line, which is the c.a.m.p missile silo tubes. This is where the nukes come out of. So not in this video, but I'm here kind of practicing, effectively. This is why I chose the spot. Is eventually I'm going to do a kind of commander's overlook kind of thing, so you can just sit here, sip some beer and watch nukes fly out. But let's do the tips first, shall we? So the first one is a quality of life. So I have just loaded into this area. All of the debris is everywhere, and it's a bit of a mess. And more importantly, I can't really envision the area. Effectively, I've got a canvas which is covered in nonsense. So let's sort that out, shall we? So obviously, most of you know about this feature. But for those who don't, you should now. You've got the bulldozing thing that was added a few months back, which enables you to get rid of debris. Now, obviously, really common sense, you know that. But what it just may not become obvious to do is you can use this to clean up before you start building. So when you kind of use this, you can pick an item up, pick a structure up, place it over an item and it will disappear, and it won't reappear again until you log back in, unless of course there is another item over the top of it. Now the reason why this is helpful is, as you see already, it's starting to tidy up the area, but it's really useful for seeing which features you can remove and which you can't before you actually commit yourself to building. So this one I can't get rid of. These trees, however, I can. And often, especially for things like trees and the rocks, you might discover there's something you can or can't remove. But once I've done all this, you'll see this area looks completely different. And it's quite transformative. So look at it already. Like, it looks completely different. And but more importantly, it's kind of uncovered where trees I can actually build over. But also this path, which initially wasn't as noticeable, is now really apparent. So it's just kind of a little bit of a best practice. But right, let's get into a kind of a bit more of a bread and butter building technique. So the best one of this whole video, actually is my favourite one, so I'm going to show you first, because pacing is not my thing, is these posts. So these posts are awful. They're so bad, they look dumb, they don't float properly, and also they just kind of go in the wrong place, and you can't actually attach something underneath them when they're snapped, because of the fact that it would bury in the foundation. So they're a whole thing which just look ridiculous, and I imagine, like a lot of you, when I started using them, they really broke the immersion for me. It's even worse because these exist, which have them in the right place. See, this is exactly where I want it to be. But you can actually get them in that location. You just have them a bit of fuckery. And I'm going to show you said fuckery right now. So what you need to do is you need to get the stairs. So say I'm going to have one there and one there. So I'm going to pop some stairs. Now, you want the stairs pointing to the direction you're going. I mean, you can have it there, right? Or it's fine. Then you need to go to the floors section and go to this upper floor, the 2x4 one. Now, these won't snap onto many things. They will, however, snap onto stairs. And then you just snap one there, and you just snap one on the edge like this. That you want the join to be over the corner. Now, what this is doing is it's effectively forcing a new middle bit, because you've kind of moved, because these are basically 2x2, so you've kind of shunted it over by one. And what you can do now, I'm going to show you this again as well. You can snap them on. It's on the corner, and even better, you can snap them underneath as well. So let me show you that one more time. You need to make sure you move them off in the same order as well. So get your stairs. Go that way. Had to do it in the awkward area. Oh, jump. Having a bit of a moment. Give us 20 minutes or so. Right, pop those in there. And then on again. Super quick to do. You don't even need to like build loads of stairs. You just use the one, just reuse it. And Bob's your uncle and Fanny's your aunt. So it looks awesome. And yeah, grand. Now, the reason why I love this is, one, because these are surprisingly flexible with snapping. Now, you can't put them another foundation next to them now, so they can only go on the edges. That's very important. You can't, unfortunately, put them in the center. What you can do is cool things like this. So now you can have them actually part of a main structure, and it just looks so much cooler because it basically makes the structure look like it's heavily reinforced. I like this idea of, like, you know, I've just kind of salvaging material and making an actual strong frame for my structure rather than just flimsy wood. So that's really useful. They can also be used as supports as well. So, you know, if I pop this here, for example, and then I put, let's just put this one over the top, but like say I want roofs. Suddenly I've got nice roof support as well. And you can just do so much with them. Just now that you have access to the supports that you wanted. So hopefully that makes people's lives a lot easier. That's probably like one of the more useful tips that not many of you will know unless you've kind of played around with things as much as I have. Right, so the next one is, again, a bit more of a combination of tip but also navigation. So a lot of people don't know how to rotate things, well, kind of move things without moving yourself, and also raise things up and down. This is a useful design technique. So, right, I'm using a PS4 controller. I'm playing on PC, and I normally use an Xbox controller, just to make things nice and confusing. For those who don't know, my Xbox controller broke last week, so I'm currently scrubbing it with my PS4 controller until I buy a new one this week, when I get paid. But for now, this is useful because I get to know what all the buttons are. So this will always be the same mapped buttons, regardless of what actual button you're pressing. So it's the ones you're using for scrolling. So in this instance, scrolling left is L1, and scrolling right is R1, and then the select button. So I'm going to select this foundation here, press X, have it selected. I'm going to hold down select, hold down place rather, and I'm going to press L1, so the left scroll, and I raise this up. And then R1 is raise it down. Now, worth noting, with certain items, they'll kind of get stuck. So what you need to do is you let them go, and then you need to go the other way if you want them to go down. Now, if you go so far down that you can't, I'll be even better to show you actually with something else, like maybe a turret or something. Yeah, let's just slap a turret down for a sec. So if I go down, it'll often start to pull them next to you a little bit. So it kind of, it basically gets, it's quite an it's a useful little thing. So L1, R1. With the stuff with foundation that kind of snap into place, it tends to kind of get stuck a little bit. Now also, well with place, so that allows you to toggle it, allows you to kind of raise up and down. If you want to rotate it, you can. And now if you want to just move these around on a level plane, like this, what you do is you just keep place held down, and you use whatever your movement toggle is. So this enables me to move things around. It's just quite useful for fine-tuning stuff. It's very useful, for example, if you want to stand still and make sure everything's on the exact same plane. And there's just kind of useful things like that. So right, that's that, but let me show you something else. So now this is a little bit finicky, and I've learned that the best way to guarantee it always working is to stand on the foundation, kind of do it from above. So what I'm going to do, you probably saw this, those of you who watch my last big build on my leveling character, like my main character, that kind of camp in the mire. And I raise these up and I drop them down a little bit. But often if I'm standing still, like here, it's not, you see it's not dropping down. So I jump up and raise it up. And then what I do, let me just show that again. Sorry, I select it and I raise it up a bit. And then I let go of place. I just let go of all my buttons, and it'll snap down in a specific way. It basically, as you see it, more or less always does it just above, like effectively right, I think it's about a quarter of the height. And the reason why this is really cool, it's a useful way for making levels. And it doesn't interfere with kind of the way you're snapping. It actually probably looks better if I do it there. Oh, right, we'll screw it. We'll do here. No, we'll do it on this one over here instead. Let me just raise that down because it's better for showing. So if I do this one here. The reason being is it's good for like kind of design stuff. So again, let me just show you again if you forgot. Raise it down. So select, raise it up a bit, but not too high. If you do it too high, it sometimes won't snap down, as you see. So select, raise it up a bit, let go. Boom. Right, now what we're going to do is we're going to do this. So say this is the outside of my house. And I've got this thing here. And I can just, it's good for adding texture to stuff. So for example, I want, you know, like some staircase on the side. I could maybe have it so it goes around. So I've got like a whole little kind of like a slightly raised platform on the outside, maybe. And then it just kind of adds a little bit more layering and texture. It's just kind of a useful way to kind of make more interesting designs on your structure. So that's that. Let me take these off. Right, so the next one is going to be... oh, one more, actually. I've got one more. And this one I actually kind of discovered the other day, like while I was kind of playing around with which ones I wanted to show you. So I really, really like these generators quite a lot. The windmill generators, but they're kind of annoying to place anywhere. They don't really sink in, and one really ball achy thing they have is if I want to put them on a floor, it doesn't let me because it's mean. So say I want to put it on the top of that. It won't let me, no matter how hard I try. I might try be able to wiggle, get it in, but as you can see, it doesn't go on. You can get it on, but you have to do it backwards. So I'm going to place it on this one here. So what you need to do... in a lot of cases, this is about build order. A lot of things you can do in Fallout. Fallout 4 as well was exactly the same, which is why I know most of this. But Fallout 76 is also the same. Doing things in a certain order allows you to do other stuff. So, for example, like basically, you need to know where you want it to be. Then you build your stuff around it. I'm going to hold it down place so I can maneuver it a bit more. That is why that stuff is useful. I'm going to get it exactly where I want to make sure it's not flying off the edges. Yeah, I do. And gorgeous. And then I just pop it off. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Love it. Going all East London for some reason. Why not? It's Monday. And I could just like slap her. Sometimes these are a little bit temperamental. Bizarrely, I can always get these in after, so I always do them after. And then we're going to put some fences around the outside, because obviously the only reason you're doing this is to make it look cool, right? So let's put this fences, because they're a bit bigger. If you haven't put it in centered, then it won't let you place these on, just for the record. So make sure the feet aren't touching the side. You get that on there like that. Gorgeous! And we're going to pop a power conduit in. It's a bit of a... You basically can't place stuff underneath it so well, but you can, and then you can wire it up. Gorgeous. Obviously, you can move that in the direction you want, but voila. And that just allows you to kind of place a windmill down, and it just makes a little bit more of a cooler structure. Also means you can put it in the middle of a pond as well, which looks quite nice. One thing to note here, because I'm going to move on to the blueprinting next, is you can't blueprint this because the item counts as floating. It's a bit frustrating. I might figure out, I'm wondering whether it's due to the pylon or not, but I think it's just due to the generator windmill is a bit temperamental. So, right, let's show you some more stuff. So, on to the subject. Those are my tips, useful building tips. If you have any you guys want to share, please leave them in the comments, because I'm always giddy about finding out new things. But let me just show you some quality of life, cool little blueprints that I use. So let's do this one first, because this is my cool little thing. This is a very small decorative one, which I just started using and you should use. It's literally just a little stand for your turrets. So what you're going to do, it's pretty simple. If you want to make... Now, the reason why I'm doing is I'm going to show you how to make these blueprints, because you usually want to do them on a flat surface. So that's blueprint tip number 1. If you've got something which is decorative, do it on a flat surface. That way it's always... it may seem quite common sense, but... when you get in that kind of mindset of like, oh, you just do it randomly on the floor that you think is flat. Always, build your own little surface. So, bump. I like this, because this is, I'm always trying to find, because obviously we've got limited decoration bits in Fallout 76 compared to 4. I'm always trying to find ways to kind of make cool bits and pieces, you know what I mean? Like that. And then you just slap a turret on. This is the easiest one, which is why I'm showing off first. Most of these little blueprints are quite simple and straightforward. Voila! And then if you've never made a blueprint before, you just, where it just says hold blueprint, you just make it. And then what you can do is you can select things and add them on. And if you want, you can grow everything if you want. If you want, you can remove something. So if I want to remove that off, and that way I can blueprint just that into turret stand 01, and that way without actually having the floor. So that's that. Let's exit there. So that's my first simple blueprint. I'm going to need you bits, so you fuck off. And you bugger off. Right, so the next two are ones that I use in a lot of my public workbenches. Because obviously public workbenches, you don't want to, you need to pop up defenses and generators, and often it just looks ugly, so you want useful bits and pieces. So let's do my generator first. Now this one can be a little bit temperamental, but effectively it gives me about 11 power, and this enables me to power the extractor generators, but also has the extractors, but also has the added bonus of being a little bit more defensible as well. Like that. Now, one thing I will note with any blueprint, I've had a little bit of a temperamental issue with placing down the conduits and any kind of thing like that. So what I mean is the power connectors, right? When I actually did this, I don't know if it's in a recent update, so I'd recommend with these just don't using power connectors and just having the connector thing at the top. You can always just slap a connector on afterwards. So this one's pretty straightforward to do. And this is such a useful one. To be honest, this is I've been using this one since pretty much the game dropped because of the fact that I was really annoyed. Because with the the public workbenches, I need to be able to put down a generator nice and quick, and you're not using your own resources anyway, so you might as well have something which is a bit more flashy. This is a quality of life one, if anything else. So Git, I use 1 medium generator and 2 small mid generators. Small mid, just small generators, David, not small mid, because you've already said mid, you dick. This will provide, said 11 power. This is also helpful for me when I didn't have access to any of the good generators. So it's just like, it's just quite an inexpensive way to power up something that needs 10 power. And then you just pop them down. I'd always recommend these just so nothing can go through. You might have a little bit of a... Yeah, you might have to ball ache a little bit. The good thing is you can actually fit 3 of the generators in there, but they might be a little bit squiffy getting in. So I'd recommend you don't need 3. You can just slap these down. Don't forget with public workbenches. Just gonna place this down, yeah. And there we go. That's that one. Just don't forget with public workbenches, it doesn't use your own resources. While it says the resource is in green at the top. So if I just go to like, it's got rubber, ceramic, steel in white. If it's in green, that means it's not using your resource. So don't be afraid of slapping these things down. Right, the next one is defending these. So again, this one isn't possibly the prettiest thing, but it's just so handy, which is a load of turrets. So this is this. The ugliest thing ever, but it's so useful, and it does exactly what it says on the tin. So you slap this down here. It's got a punji board there, and you've got turrets there. Super simple. I mean, you already know how to build this because you can look at it, but I'm going to build it anyway just to show and kind of talk through my process. Now, the reason being is I wanted an effective defense to very, very quickly place down when I was basically more or less exclusively for public workbenches, right? Because you don't want to just slap a lot of turrets down. Now, in public workbenches, the most annoying thing outside of super mutants is enemies meleeing your turrets, right? So this is just really useful. Always don't forget you do still need the, you said it requires home defense, so don't forget you do need your home defense perk equipped when you place this down. You plop down your turrets here like that. I always like to put them nice and over the edge. Now, very important, put a punji board right here. Seems really, really simple and straightforward, and that is it. But this will stop any enemy, any dog, any just kind of like toad, anything, will go up here and they'll get about here and they'll try and attack it. They'll stop all of their mates coming up, and also these things will shoot them to shit. It just makes for a slightly more effective kind of little settlement defense, again, that you can just slap down really, really quickly when you're doing the public workbenches. Well, that's it. I'm going to be probably doing more videos on schematics later down the line, because I've got a few ideas, and some of my friends have suggested some cool video ideas which I want to try. But yeah, those are my kind of main tips and tricks that I've kind of learned in my time, as well as my kind of favorite quality of life schematics. I also have just because you probably saw it when I was scrolling, actually. I'm not going to show you because it's not very interesting. I was playing around with just a little small shack. This is alright. You can actually sometimes place this down, but yeah, it's a shack that I was playing around with, but I don't actually ever use that because I'd like to build shacks. But yes, I hope you guys found that handy. If you've got any interesting ones that you use, let me know, especially any tips and tricks, because there's always, unique... The way about one thing I learned about, especially when playing Fallout 4, is that a lot of... because it uses the same building function, a lot of the settlement elements work in weird little ways that you can accidentally discover, like the most famous one is the rug glitch from Fallout 4. And it's the same way with discovering how to snap the pillars down. It's kind of those things that you won't know about and you won't accidentally do until you accidentally do it, and then it becomes a staple of your building. But anyway, I'm going to leave that there. As always, follow me on Twitter at norespawns. I will be having new videos up. There's a new game dropping on Thursday, so I've got a kind of an hour gameplay video on that. And then on the weekend, assuming I've hit max level at that point, I will have an Elder Scrolls Online video. But until that point, you lovely people, enjoy the rest of your week. You take care.